Okay. This one spoke to me personally. It says, when coming from a place of deep hurt and anger, how do we access compassion? 25 years ago, when I walked into a church like this, it was the Atlanta Church of Religious Science, and I had a dialogue going on inside my mind that was not kind, and so I created a sense of esteem that was extremely low. I would go beyond saying that the dialogue wasn't kind. I would say there was self-hatred deeply ingrained in my spirit. And so because of that, I was unable to come sit up front. This is no assessment or value of those sitting in the back. But for me, I just couldn't make that trip to the front because I didn't have the esteem to do it. I was sure that if I was walking that far, that people were judging me. And they were judging me harshly, like I was judging myself harshly inside. So I was hurt, and I was angry, and I was wounded. And so I stayed in the back row for a very, very long time. So it wasn't a journey from low self-esteem to high self-esteem. For me, it was a journey from self-hatred to self-love. And that wasn't a journey that happened just like that. And it wasn't a journey that stepped just like that. It was a journey that took one step at a time, that required discipline and persistence in my heart and my soul. And so my advice is, you cannot be compassionate with others until you're first compassionate inside to yourself. You've got to stop the monkey chatter, the inner dialogue that says you're not good enough. And you've got to listen to the voice that says you are good enough. Find something you like if you can't love yourself yet. Find something you like about yourself. Give your attention to that until it grows into self-love.
And that question spoke, obviously, to many people who phrased it in the same way, and it comes really down to that beginning point, self-love, self-compassion. I'm not really good at that, and yet I want to now feel compassion for the really big issues in the world. And people often bring that up. How do you have compassion for people who indulge in greed or using up the resources of the earth, my stuff is up, I'm in judgment about how do I feel compassion with them? Well, you know what? I'm bringing it home because I'm taking the advice from Eknath Easwaran. And says, why don't you begin in your close circle of friends and families where there's possibly a foundation of love already, and see how good you're there. Because I'm finding that I'm never mind compassion for myself. I'm not really that compassionate with my neighbor who, say, for example, parks in front of my house or whatever it is. But now I want to take on genocide and all these big things, and that splatter my mind and my sensibilities across the universe. And now I've got some idea how they should be, but I'm at war in my own neighborhood. I mean, what's wrong with that? Because, my mind's job is always looking for the place to justify where my hatred is okay. So because I want to be okay, I'm out of my heart of compassion and love, and I want to find the one thing that is so unsupportable that it will prove that it's okay for me to be unloving. Now look, this one, I can be unloving with this one. But you know what? You're in this Center for Spiritual Living or in Kansas City, and you walked in, something called you to it. And once you walk in and you hear this message about your heart of compassion, you can never close that door again.
Right.
You're going to have to figure it out.
Right.
You're going to have to figure out how to stay in your heart of compassion when there are things in the world that are unsupportable. I got carried away there.
Preach. Preach. Okay, this is a really good one. How does one find compassion for a body that is wearing out? Well, I practiced that this morning. When I got out of the shower and I was happy the mirror was fogged up. I think it's interesting being an ageless, timeless spirit in a body that's aging. And I'm noticing this as I've gotten older. I turned 50 this year, and it's very interesting to me to watch that process as it unfolds, because I think it teaches us a lesson. There's a reason why we're in bodies that age and we don't, because it calls on us to know the truth. The truth is this: You are not your body. You never have been. You never will be. It's just a vehicle for your soul's expression. And so the compassionate view is to know the truth that I am a spirit, an ageless, timeless, beautiful spirit that's decided to share this portion of who I am and with the world.
And then to treat it kindly. And you know, if compassion is the attempt to understand your body's point of view, you can look at kindness and say, oh my God, look at this fantastic thing. It's breathed me so many times. Look what it's done for me, and look what I've done to it. Look at all the chemicals it's assimilated on my behalf.
Oh my God.
You know, and then you can be kind, and that's compassion, and you can hold the body in that sense of, wow, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from with everything that you've had to do. Praise God, you're still here for the next bit of the journey. Somebody wrote, what's the difference between compassion and codependency? One's healthy and the other isn't. But truly, the question is larger. It's how do I draw in all the skills to be able to understand that difference? And it takes us to the beginning. Healthy boundaries, good self-love, learning to listen, a spiritual practice that supports you, personal inquiry. There's a whole set of things that will help bring you to be able to determine when you're in one and when you're in the other. There's one last question. It's not exactly about compassion. I don't really know where to take this. It says, Reverend Chris and Reverend Edward, boxers or briefs? Boxers.
Briefs. What?
Pray.
Oh, okay. At the CSL in Kansas City, we close our service with prayer, and we build it around an affirmation which is on the wall today. So I ask that, would you say it with me, please, as one? It says, we are one people on one planet in one universe, governed by one intelligence. Let's close our eyes so that we're not tricked or fooled by appearances. The great master said, do not judge by appearances. So we go within again to remember why we came here today. That we are not separated or separated from our good. That we are immersed in an intelligence that is at the helm of the universe, directing it toward the highest and the greatest good. And that intelligence has assembled the DNA and given us the talent and the unique gifts that we are as individuals, and placed us here at this time in history for two reasons. The first is because we have something valuable to contribute to life that will heal this planet now. And because we are here to love, to care for each other. We've come to this place, this sanctuary, to remember who we are today. That we are the wonderful expressions of an infinite and powerful Creator that has an intention for life, and that is to unfold its desire for love. By being here today, we are better to love ourselves, better to love our neighbors, better to love all humanity. And thank God that's so. And so it is.
So it is. And that brings us to the time in the service where we share from our resources. We'll have the opportunity to sing together with the Kansas City musicians. I ask that you sing from a seated position so that our ushers can navigate safely through the aisles to receive your gift. And God bless you for your generosity. Ushers, please receive the gift.